Hello everyone, you join us at the Circuit de Catalunya for round 5 of the AOR Season 12 Championship. My name is Shane, and as usual, back with me in the commentary box is Dan.
Hi Shane, it's great to be back for round 5 this season after the championship took an interesting turn last time out in Russia, with M4 taking his first victory of the season, and I'm sure he'll be looking to build on that today. The short nature of the Circuit de Catalunya usually provides a really close qualifying session, so let's find out how they all did in the qualifying report.
So welcome to the qualifying comparison for the Spanish Grand Prix, jumping on board with the two Haas cars of M-Thorn on the left and RBOS on the right. Coming down towards turn 1 on the very long pit straight, both drivers opting to brake at around the 100-metre board before going down to third gear, clipping the curb on the apex nicely. RBOS short shifting up to fifth gear before both drivers open up the long right-handed turn 3, with RBOS having to deal with a ghosting car on the apex of the corner, but hasn't affected him too much as he is slightly ahead. Coming down towards turn 4, both drivers opting for third gear, taking wide entry line. Rabos once again short shifting up to fifth gear, and then on the run down to turn 5, RBOS having a slight lock up on his inside front, but hasn't affected him too much as once again he decides to short shift up to 4th, whereas M-Thorn decides to use the whole rev rings. Then coming into the chicane, both drivers using third gear once again, and coming out in towards turn 9, M-Thorn taking a much wider entry line, carrying more speed through the corner, getting on DRS as early as possible, and that is why he is slightly ahead coming into the turn 10 hairpin. Both drivers opting to use first gear to get maximum turn in, then coming into this tricky bump that often unsettles the car as we come into the final sector. Now down to third gear, no real issues on the traction for either driver as once again Rabos opts to short shift once again, then into the tricky final chicane down to second gear, maximising the exit as much as possible. Rabos short shifting up to third gear, getting on the curb a little bit on the exit, but that has cost him, and M-Thorn comes up to the line carrying a 1/10 advantage, pipping his teammate to second place.
So it's Jim Nervo tanking the Renault, taking pole position once again, this time by 4/10 ahead of the Haas driver of M-Thorn. M-Thorn's teammate RBOS is just behind him, starting up the second row, with the two Ferraris closely behind with Aresi and Big Shot 4th and 5th respectively. It's BMU qualifying an impressive 6th, while it's all McLaren 4th row with Clarkey and Ali Kane. B Colt and Alex round out the top 10 with Kian in 11th. It's Desimply rounding off the 6th row of the grid with a lap time of 1.1 seconds off pole, with Theo and Via Rubin lining up on the 7th row. Mazias and Jonas on the 7th row, while it's an All Force India 9th row, a disappointing qualifying for both of them, with Dan setting his fastest lap on the medium tyre. X-Men Madness will round off the grid here for Spain, with sadly both Williams unable to attend. It's been 4 winners out of the first 4 races so far in AOR PS4. Can it be another one here in Spain? Let's find out.
So it's race time here in Spain, and it's another race without a cloud to be seen. It's 5 poles out of 5 for Nervo Tank, but can he convert it to only his 2nd win of the season?
I think he has an excellent opportunity today, but it is worth noting those guys outside of the top 10 starting on medium or hard tyres will have a big advantage. It's what's become clear in this game is that there is a tyre wear glitch. So if you start on the hardest compound or the sort of middle compound, it gives you better tyre wear throughout the entirety of the race, giving you an advantage that lasts not only for the first stint but for the entire race, giving the drivers that, like Kian, starting outside the top 10, but we've seen so far early in this season have very good pace, giving them an opportunity to fight for podiums.
So here we are on board with RBOS around this formation lap that we have here for the first time this season, and now on board with Kian as he goes wandering off the track on the formation lap, so that's not exactly promising for him so far, but he rejoins without taking anyone out. So if there is contact between anyone in this formation lap, they will be reset to the grid so that they don't do it again, and hopefully Kian will just stay in the position that he is, so that it doesn't create any sort of carnage across the rest of this lap. But the two Haas in 2nd and 3rd, their best qualifying of the season as a team, followed by the two Ferraris as Nervo is long gone up the formation lap. He just wants to get on with this race. Here we are on board with Alex down in 10th place, a pretty bad qualifying by his standards, currently 2nd in the championship, only 8 points off of Nervo. So here we are back on board with Jonas, currently on the mediums, as are quite a lot of the cars around him. And here is Nova now pulling onto the grid, well ahead of the two Haas cars. So the Haas taking it easy and seemingly to back up everyone else. And here we now go, everyone pulling into their grid slots. And M-Thorn is going to slot into P2 just on that yellow line, just before it actually, as the game has taken over the cars at this point. The drivers don't decide where they line up, the game does it for them. So as the final couple of cars pull in to their final grid slots, we're going to get ready for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. 5 red lights coming on now. We have 4 lights, we have 5. Lights out, away we go for the Spanish Grand Prix. It looks like Novo's got off to a very clean start, as we've got 2 Manners flying off in the background. Another one is off as well, another car in the background, as we've got the 2 Haas being swamped by the 2 Ferraris. But Novotank has maintained the lead through the first corner, as M-Thorn still in second place. RBOS currently fighting Aresi, who's got round the outside of him through turn 2. And now that is Aresi up into third place, as his teammates drop back somewhere. Big Shot's gone very far down the field. RBOS now coming back at Aresi on the exit of turn 4. And meanwhile, more cars going side by side in the background. Can RBOS hang it around the outside of turn 5? No, he does not. So Aresi is up into third place. Well defended, as they're still side by side actually going into turn 7 and 8. And Aresi loses the back end slightly. Will RBOS have a look into turn 9? No, he doesn't. So I don't know what happened quite in the background, and RBOS is still actually coming back at the Ferrari now down in towards turn 10. And will he get the manoeuvre done? And no, they're still side by side, still very close. There's contact on the exit of the corner, and this has allowed BMU to be right behind, getting a very good shot of these 2 battling. And can he make any headway? No, he can't. It's all settled down for the moment. But yeah, that was a pretty scrappy start to the race, Dan.
Yeah, and I don't know where the second Ferrari Big Shot has gone. He's behind Ali K as well in the McLaren, who's had a very good start, getting up into P6, as Novotank already out in the lead, setting the fastest lap of the race, as he would on the first lap. But RBOS really putting pressure on Aresi, trying to get back up into P3. But now I've got the McLaren going up the inside of Mercedes. There's been contact, he's been spun round, he's then collected another car, and everyone's going past. And well, there's Big Shot down in P13. God knows what's happened to him. B Colt's down in P18 after the Manners made contact on the pit straight. And well, that's been a terrible. And there's, I think, a Force India of GR Demon as well. So lots of collisions happening in the opening few laps here.
And now B Colt's trying to get round the outside of Beam here, around the outside of turn 5. To get really close through the corner, and now B Colt's going to have that better traction on the outside, and he's got the high ground for turn 7, and he is now up into 16th place. That was GR Demon we saw spinning around at turn 3, so he's definitely had contact, because that isn't usually where a car naturally spins. So now we've got Alex down to 11th off the line, so he must have been probably cautious through the start carnage, but that has now dropped him back down to 11th place. And the 2 Saubers doing a really good job at the start of this train, holding up everyone at the moment. Everyone else is just stuck behind them, and Big Shot still down in 13th place, and Novotank sprinting away up front, as we kind of expect him to do. And now coming out of the last corner, everyone getting a little bit fishtaily coming out of the last corner, which we don't usually see, but that is the nature of this game, more oversteer. And a Big Shot having a look down the inside of Dan into turn 1, but not quite, as Aresi has left the session for some reason. I think he might have just disconnected, because I can't imagine why he would rage quit from 3rd place. So that's unfortunate for him. He can join back if he wants and keep driving that car, as we now have a replay of the start.
Yeah, RBOS getting a lot of oversteer from the line. Even though he put it down to lean, that immediately puts the Ferrari Aresi up the inside of him. He's actually, RBOS trying to go around the outside of M4, his teammate. That doesn't pay off. And now Aresi will have the inside line for turn 3, which I suppose he hangs on in there. Yes, he does. And now going side by side throughout this corner. And Aresi's now got the inside line for turn 4, and presumably is able to maintain the position. On board with Alex, who's got up to P8 off the starting line. So a reasonably good start for him. There's the Ferrari Big Shot going completely the wrong way into turn 1. So a reasonable start for him. Now on board with B Colt, who just goes into the back of Clarkey. and then everyone swamps him, and he goes into his teammate as well. He received contact maybe from a Mercedes there. Looks like display, yeah. And it's because Clark either had a very poor start or what's referred to as a lag start, where his 5 lights went out later than everyone else. It just caused everyone to back up, and then an incident was kind of inevitable. And then there's BMU going for the wrong way into turn 2, and now Alex making a very early pit stop on lap 3, going on to a set of hard tyres.
There was a Red Bull, I noticed in the mirror, that hit BMU in that turn 1 carnage with Ali K on the second lap, and that might have been Alex, which might explain why he dropped back to 11th place, as we've got cars lagging down the pit lane. And now Alex rejoins in a lonely 16th place, but he has got clean air on those hard tyres, so he's definitely not going to do 30 laps on them, so he's going to come in another time this afternoon. So Aresi has now joined back because his car is no longer ghosted, as there is a McLaren battle between Clarkey and Ali K for 5th place. Clarkey with a very good debut in Russia in 6th place, where he beat his teammate on that occasion. But at the moment it is reversed. Well, Clarkey is still in 6th place, but his teammate is in front of him. Ali K always seems to quietly work his way up the field, but obviously it's been less quiet so far this afternoon with that contact at turn 1 with BMU, as now Clarkey's got the slipstream and the DRS towards turn 1, and Ali K has got nothing really to say to that, and just lets him through down the straight, and that is Clarkey up into 5th as Kian now comes down the inside of NBA Rubin, and Kian starting on the hard tyres, so he's going to have better tyre wear than anyone with that tyre wear glitch that Dan explained at the start. Jonas in a very quiet 7th place at the moment, doing a great job for Sauber at the moment, and Kian is the one behind him. So Jonas actually in a world of his own, just minding his own business, locking up into turn 5 slightly, which will not help the tyre wear at all. So you can actually see on the minimap just how far away Nervo Tank is. Here we are on board with RBOS, currently still in 3rd, but under attack from Aresi, who has got some good pace in the early stage of this race.
Yeah, it has to be said, and RBOS loses the rear end coming out of the hairpin. Then receive slight contact from the Ferrari behind, but seems to be struggling on those rear tyres. Coming towards lap 5 now. Coming towards the end of the first stint, I think a couple of guys may be pitting around about lap 7, lap 8. That's probably the ideal time to come in for that 2-stop strategy, but round the final corner RBOS comes, but Aresi will have that slipstream in towards turn 1 and the DRS, so this should be a relatively easy move for the Ferrari driver. RBOS, well, he puts it up to Rich, but doesn't really bother defending that much, and that is Aresi back up into P3. Yeah,
Aresi with a good move down the inside. It was pretty easy, as RBOS put up no fight at all. And now Aresi defending into turn 4. RBOS got a good run out of there actually, in out of turn 3, and still getting cutbacks, and he's going to have a look back down the outside in towards turn 5. Aresi still defending on inside, and is kept it clean, and RBOS with another cutback, but gets worse traction on the exit with that oversteer, and now has to slot in behind the Ferrari driver. So that's RBOS back down to 4th place, and still struggling with a lot of oversteer in that car at the moment. And if he's not too, yep, out of turn 9, you don't usually expect tyre wear, the wheels to spin up on the exit of that corner, and you can see effects of that tyre at the moment. Here's his teammate in 2nd place. The only guy that's been really putting up a fight in recent races to Nervo Tank, obviously the race winner last time out in Russia as well, after Nervo picked up a few corner cutting penalties, and M-Thorn stays out, does the same as Nervo, stays out as well, so no one coming into the pits. Yep, just as I say that, RBOS comes into the pits, the first front runner to come into the pits then, as we've got Ali K following him in as well. So the Haas team all the way down the end of the pit lane, and this seems like an eternity coming down this pit lane, so God knows what Silverstone's going to feel like. So on to the hard tyres he goes now, looking to go long in this stint, and he's going to come out in 13th place as GR Demon comes up the inside of Mazai's into turn 1, and that's a very easy move for the Force India driver, recovering after that spin at turn 3 at the start.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much of a pace advantage those guys have got, because obviously we're only, well, they put it on lap 6, so the people who cycle on medium or hard tyres, their tyres won't be too bad, probably about 20% tyre wear. So it's going to see how much they can carve their way through the field, as Big Shot, who's not having a great race, now pits again. He's got no front wing. God knows how he's managed to do that. And this has just been a terrible day for the Ferrari driver. But now on board with Kian, who's behind MV Rubin. So the Sauber has managed to get past him, but the Renault managed to stick relatively close. And now we can see that Kian's teammate is in the pits, so that will be Nervo Tank. So on lap 7, he is coming into the pits to change off from his soft compound tyres. Now through the final corner, and here we go, Nervo Tank. Let's see what tyres he goes on to. He goes onto a set of hard tyres. So the hard tyres, seemingly the driver's choice around here in Spain. Obviously a very durable tyre, and they're able to push long on that tyre during this race. And Nervo Tank comes out in this battle for around about 4th or 5th place. So not bad for him. And with those fresh tyres, he should be able to, well, charge through this lot and continue having that sizable gap that he's got out front. I think that is the Mercedes Disciple, if I'm not mistaken. So it's interesting to see how, well, sadly he's not got the race winning pace that he had back in China. And Nervo Tank made a lovely move up the inside of turn 4 there, and now going through turn 5 and gets back on the throttle. And Disciple, well, I don't think he'll have much of a chance going into the next DRS zone, considering how much more grip Nervo Tank will have at this stage of the race.
You say that as he slides his way through these corners at the moment. Nervo Tank not getting these tyres in the ideal working window, as that Mercedes just goes straight through the DRS board. It's a bit of an awkward place, but okay, it's still there on RBOS's screen, so that's fantastic. And now RBOS right behind Mayhem Madness, and he goes down the inside, gets just enough room, and Mayhem Madness loses it on the exit and sideswipes the Haas, but thankfully he doesn't spin. And Mayhem Madness proving to be very much struggling on those soft tyres as he runs wide through these last couple of corners, and RBOS is all over him. Look how slow the Red Bull is going. He's got to come into the pits. No, he doesn't. And that's not going to impress RBOS at all, but he should now get the move down into turn 1 all done. Here we go into the DRS zone. He's got a lot more overspeed. Clarkey coming out the pits as well, and that is done and dusted around the outside into turn 1. That is a Haas up into 8th place, and now he can set about going after his teammate. And now Clarkey down in 10th place after his first pit stop, and Mayhem Madness really struggling on those soft tyres. It was a wonder he didn't come in on the last lap. And now Clarkey is up the inside, and it's an easy move up into 9th place. Or is it? Now Mayhem Madness on the inside, they bang wheels, and Clarkey throws his hand up in the air saying, "What are you doing? Just let me pass." And they're still banging wheels down in towards turn 7, and now he goes spinning off in the left hand mirror there, and but that is the move done and done for Clarkey. And now we're on board with Mayhem Madness on the mediums on his screen, so that's fantastic. And yeah, I think that's just Mayhem Madness opening the steering and not still realising how much. Oh my goodness, he was very lucky he didn't pick up that Mercedes going past in that spin. He didn't do the best job of reading. He spun again. Well,
he's not having a great day, is he, the Red Bull driver? No. He's struggling. He's got some grass on his tyres. He needs to be taking it easy, but he's probably just getting a bit frustrated right now. And he'll be definitely pitting this lap, because he'll need to get a new front wing. Just locks up into all the turn 10 hairpin. It goes straight off the track. Yeah, he really needs to do some short shifting or something. Oh my god.
The problem is, he's got a lack of front downforce without the front wing. Plus, when you get grass on your tyres on this game, it becomes ice. You cannot get on the power and you can't turn. So combine that with the front wing loss as well, he's got no grip whatsoever. So that has severely compromised his race. And at the moment, we've got the two Saubers in 1st and 3rd. Obviously, they won't stay that way, but the way it's shaped out at the moment, with all the leaders pitting, these guys aren't looking too shabby out front. And we've got Dan behind on these soft tyres, but something tells me he wouldn't have gone to lap 10 if he was actually on the soft tyres. So considering we've had that visual glitch with Mayhem Madness as well, as we've got GR Demon being overtaken by Ali K. GR Demon really being compromised. He would have been up in the top 5 with these guys had he not had that incident being spun round on turn 3. So we're going to have a chance to see if NBA Ruben, can get down the inside of Kian down into towards turn 1. Kian makes a very, very late move there. That was dangerous. And NBA Ruben doing a very good job to not smash into the back of him there.
Yeah, very late defensive manoeuvre. I don't think the FIA would be very happy if Max Verstappen did that, but now Dan getting a reasonable exit from turn 3 but not able to make it up the inside of the Sauber driver. But Jonas out front doing a very solid job, able to pull away from this pack slightly. He's probably got a 3-4 second advantage, and he's looking quite good. I don't know where Nervo Tank is in all this, but I'd honestly thought he'd have caught these guys by now. So they are probably looking good for some very good points.
Obviously, the fresh tyres will be some kind of benefit in terms of an undercut, but they won't be 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster than what they were in previous games prior to the next gen games. So now we are Nervo Tank. I think he might be that car behind Dan in 5th place, but don't
Yes,
my
I
word.
think he is. It looks like
Yeah.
the Renault to me.
Yeah, so Nervo's got to carve his way quickly before he gets caught by the likes of Mthorn, who will take every opportunity to try and beat him. And these guys still staying out, and I definitely suspect Dan isn't on the soft tyre, otherwise his tyres would have exploded by now. So down into turn 1, NBA Ruben's actually looking more under threat from the cars behind and trying to challenge the one in front. Dan has a look up the inside, doesn't make it stick, and now Mayhem Madness has actually decided to retire. Or has he crashed? I think he has crashed because he's on the inside of turn 3, so it's a very unique place to crash. I don't know how that's happened, but we may never know, and I wouldn't want to guess how he's done that, as Nervo Tank has now passed Dan. We can see in the mirror and on the timing screen, so that's Nervo up into 4th place. He goes down the inside of NBA Ruben as well, dives up the inside of the Sauber, and NBA Ruben doing a sensible job of leaving him room, doesn't need to get in a battle with the net race leader at the moment, and we've got to imagine that Keen will just let Nervo through at the moment, since it is pretty much, Nervo is pretty much the #1 driver. And now down the back straight, we've got Dan coming up the inside of the Sauber as well. Doesn't make the move stick under braking, and NBA Ruben maintains that 4th place.
Yeah, Nervo Tank looking very good. I don't know where M4 dropped back to, but he's definitely falling a considerable way back. So Nervo Tank, as long as he holds this together, he's looking very good for the race leader. It's actually, is that a Resi just behind? So has a Resi managed to jump M4? We'll find out presumably at some point, but there seems to be a move going on for P2 as Nervo Tank is going up the inside of his teammate in towards turn 1, and yeah, that'll put him back up into P2, and now it's only Jonas out in front and separating Nervo Tank from his desired P1.
Here is the race leader at the moment then, doing a fantastic job on those mediums to get ahead of these guys at the moment. It is a Resi in the net P2, as you said, so I don't know what happened to Mthorn. Must have made a mistake somewhere, or was just lacking pace at this stage of the race. Clarkey is also ahead of RBOS, which we haven't seen as well. So Clarkey is on the medium tyres, a softer compound than what RBOS is, so that will explain it. NBA Ruben's got a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, which is sad to see. So it's pretty much what we saw in Russia, 3 warnings and you'll get a penalty. So he has been exceeding track limits 3 times at least, so he's got a penalty for it, which is sad to see. But now we've got a VSC, which means people, as you can see in the top right of your screen, this is the first time we had this season, so in the top right of your screen you can see the delta time. When it goes minus, you're going too fast. When you're in the green plus zone, you are slower than the required delta time, which is absolutely fine. So just to briefly explain that. And now we've got drivers pitting, taking advantage of this situation. Obviously they will lose less time pitting under the virtual safety car than what they would if it was full green flag. So they're taking this chance to pit, get on those hard tyres, and possibly go to the end if they can get lucky enough. And NBA Ruben doesn't get, well, I say doesn't get held up much. The pit crew are slightly asleep, and as they have in fact lost the place to Dan.
Yeah, this has worked out absolutely perfectly for those three guys. Dan and the two Saubers, who were looking very good on the medium tyre anyway, but they've effectively, well, they've not got a free pit stop, but they've probably lost about 10 seconds less than you would in a normal pit stop. So this has worked out brilliantly for them. They're now onto a fresh set of hard tyres, easily will be able to go to the end of the race, and they're already in some very solid points, and considering everyone else ahead of them has got to pit, they could be looking good for probably top fives.
I completely agree. You've got Jonas here right on them, right on RBOS and Clarkey. Clarkey being a little bit slow on the virtual safety car ending, and yeah, so Jonas looking to get past these two immediately as quickly as possible if he wants to make his strategy work. That has fallen right into their hands. Perfect timing, as this is the one-stop window that we are in. So can Jonas get through these guys quickly, because he does have Dan and his teammate close behind, probably about 2 seconds behind. So now Jonas is looking to get past. He won't have any chances in this final sector, and RBOS is going to have to try and get Clarkey as soon as possible. And now through the last corner, we can see that RBOS has underfueled his car quite a lot. He was five and a half laps down on fuels, but he has now saved a lot under that virtual safety car and is now making amends for it. Down into turn 1, he is up the inside of Clarkey, and he's already ahead going into the braking zone, so that is now him up into 5th place, and Mthorn is only just ahead of him. Mthorn seems to be struggling for pace at the moment as RBOS gets on the painted AstroTurf. I don't know what it is on the outside of turn 3, but whatever it is, he's got onto it and has lost the back end. Very good reactions not to spin it there. And now we can see Dan has actually pulled away from MBA Rubin and is now right on the back of Ali K.
Yeah, these guys who now are effectively in a very good position because they've got fresher tyres as well. So this is working out brilliantly for them. They're now almost stuck in traffic at Jonas and Dan and MBA Rubin here. So they need to find a way past these guys, and then they can get on with setting some good lap times, because the guys will come back at them. They'll maybe go on to a set of medium or soft tyres at the end of the race, so they will be very fast at the end of the race. So they need to make sure that they get a good advantage at this point. But through the final sector with the Sauber driver, I think he's just within that 1 second window. So a lot of these drivers are just hoping to sort of stay in the train, and that means that they'll set decent lap times because of the way the slipstream works on this game. It's so overpowered, it gives you at least 4 or 5 tenths a lap depending on the circuit. So now round the pit straight they go, and in towards turn 1. MBA Rubin asking back his tyres towards his engineer. Don't know if he's thinking that he might have to make a pit stop at the end of this race, but for me, I think these guys will be going to the end with very little problems. Now on board with Clarkey in P6, and RUS just ahead of him, and I can't work out who is that ahead. Is that M4?
Yes, it is. Mthorn is really struggling for pace in this middle stage of the race. You'd think he'd be pulling away from his teammate, considering he is on the mediums, but RBOS is doing a fantastic job here at the moment. As I say that, he misses the apex of turn 7, but he is within the DRS zone of his teammate now. He's not going to be close enough for a look down into turn 10, and just to prove me wrong, he's going to let his teammate through. So that is now RBOS currently faster, so that is a very good call in terms of the team perspective, and RBOS won't mind at all if he gets let through by his teammate, because that's another position gained, and he is beating his teammate, which is obviously #1 priority for these drivers, as we've now got Kian coming into the pit on lap 16. So he couldn't take advantage of that virtual safety car because he was on the harder compound. But now we've got Clarkey up against Mthorn as well. Mthorn's not going to let him through that quickly, and Mthorn now defending into turn 1. Clarkey's slightly ahead on the brakes, and he has much more braking confidence and just mugs Mthorn off actually, and that is now Clarkey up into 4th.
Yeah, and Clarkey showing that the medium tyres can work around this track, so Mthorn just seemingly struggling for pace at this point in the race, but RBOS on those hard tyres looking very good now. Obviously he'll have more grip at this point than the medium runners, so yeah, he's looking very good for the Haas driver at the moment, potentially getting his first podium of the season. But as we now go uphill in towards through turn 8 and up towards turn 9. This blind right-hander down into 5th gear for Clarkey. Obviously the tyres starting to degrade, and that means that he just has to slow the car down more going through these high-speed corners. Down in towards a turn 10 hairpin, nails that apex, and has actually set a very good middle sector there because he's kept up with RBOS and will easily be within that DRS window.
So in the mirrors we can see Thorn still right behind these two, and Jonas still hanging on, so showing on those hard tyres he's got very good pace. Obviously he is on fresher tyres than these guys at the moment, so that will help as RBOS struggles his way around the last corner. So RBOS definitely looks like he's using up his rear tyres a lot more than the rest of these guys, as now Clarkey is in a very good position to try and overtake. Will he do Dan down the brakes once again on this Haas? Yes he does, and they're still side by side through turn 2. RBOS has got the high ground for turn 3, and Clarkey's gonna go, is he gonna go off the track? Yes he does slightly, and they get very close on the exit, and RBOS maintains that 3rd place up the inside through turn 4. Clarkey's still hanging on around the outside, and RBOS maintains that 3rd place, and Clarkey has a look back down the inside but can't quite make it stick. So beautiful defending by the Haas of RBOS, and now the other one is getting mugged off by Jonas, who's up the inside through turn 7. And this is going to be very close through turn 9, and Thorn actually does a sensible job. Okay, I'm very good at commentating cursing these guys at the moment, and yeah, Thorn did a good job of backing out of it through turn 9, but sadly made contact with the back of the Sauber, and that has now cost him his front left end plate. And I think Thorn's going to try and look to pit very soon, as he's trying to find the hard tyres to select, and now going into these last few corners of the lap. Will he peel off on the right? Yes he does. So that front left end plate really is going to compromise him in terms of time in the pit lane. And now down in towards turn 1, Clarkey now going to try and have another go at the Haas, but not quite close enough on this occasion, as now Dan gets the high ground on NBA Rubin, who he was already ahead of. So Dan lost that position somewhere, which we didn't see, and now Dan has made the better of the Sauber back up into 7th place.
Yeah, they've actually dropped a little bit of time to Ali K, so I don't really know what's happened between them, that they've got into their own private squabbles. But back with Jonas, who's looking incredibly good. I mean, I don't like to be say anything bad to these drivers, but Jonas, I believe, has scored no points so far this season, or very little. And maybe did he get an 8th place or 9th place in China? But apart from that, he's not really showed this kind of pace at all throughout the season. And suddenly at Spain, he's delivered. And for me, he's looking on course for a brilliant podium, because RBOS and Clarkey ahead have to pit, and he's going to the end. So for all he knows, he too could be a possibility.
That is a very, very good point there, Dan. And he's not out of question for the win, considering he is close enough to Nervotank that he'll jump in for the next pit stop, but we know what Nervotank is capable in terms of pace, so a win might be out of the cards, but definitely a 2nd place is looking good here, and definitely a 3rd, as now he is sitting right behind 3rd place. You can just see it up in front of Clarkey, so he's doing a good job of sitting back and letting these two in front of him just get on with it, because if there is an incident between these two and they take each other off the road, Jonas is in a good position to just drive past them and not get involved at all. So Jonas is sitting very pretty here. That virtual safety car has worked out for him beautifully well, and Ali K can do nothing to catch up to these guys at the moment, sitting behind these two. So Clarkey now still stuck behind that Haas of RBOS on those hard tyres, and I don't quite understand why was Jonas off the track there on the exit on turn 1? I don't think he was. He now looks up the inside of Clarkey, and now through the last sector of the lap he doesn't make it work, so now he's still going to have to sit behind him for now. And Clarkey, I would imagine, is getting very impatient with that Haas in front of him, as he knows he's faster but he just can't get past. So as we're going to go through the last couple of corners, Clarkey has had enough of that, comes into the pitch for probably hard tyres, as they seem to be working very nicely for the rest of the opposition at the moment. And now Dan is going to come under threat once again from NBA Rubin. Now down to in the pit straight in towards turn 1. Dan goes defensive slightly. No, he doesn't. And comes back into the racing line, which he was entitled to do. Gets through turn 1 and 2 nicely. And these two probably looking at 4th and 5th positions, do we think, come the end of the race?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to jump Aresi, who's in P2. I don't think they are close enough. Obviously, Aresi will have fresher tyres at the end of the race. Now on board with Alex and M4. I mean, this has been a big fall from grace for these two. Obviously, they had very good starts to the season. Alex was very close to Nervo Tank in terms of championship lead. M4 took the win last time in Austria, not in Austria, in Russia. And now the 13th and 14th. But back with RBOS, who's doing a much better job for the Haas team. And through the final sector, he's going in the lean mix. I wonder if he's going to go on to mediums or if he'll go on to softs. I haven't seen his tyre wear indicator so far, but it has to be said, RBOS is doing a very good job. He's sticking with Aresi despite the number of battles he's been having, and he carries on again. For me, this indicates he's going to try and force a soft stint at the end of the race.
Yep, that is highly possible. It depends what effect the tyre wear glitch has on these guys at the moment. So Big Shots actually had enough and retired in the pits, guessing by the minimap. So I don't know why he has. Oh, he was down at the back, wasn't he? He was down in 19th and he pitted very early on. So he's probably a lap down at this stage and doesn't feel there's any point in carrying on. So you can see that yellow flag has now been cleared. And we've got on board with GR Demon defending for all his worth down in towards turn 1 against Disimplay, and Alex as well on the outside are going to go 3 wide into turn 1, and how do they not make contact? Alex has got past a pair of them. What a stunning pass around the outside of turn 1 by the Red Bull drivers, currently second in the championship. Only going to get 1 point here this afternoon today by the looks of things, as Disimplay is not giving up at all. And that was an absolutely fantastic move by the Red Bull driver around the outside of turn 1 of 2 cars.
Absolutely brilliant from Alex, showing that, well, he's definitely got championship qualities, but sadly he's just been let down by a few unfortunate incidents today. Disimplay losing the rear end coming out of turn 8 and in towards turn 9. GR Demon not able to make a manoeuvre, so he'll have to stay back in P12. But yeah, it could have worked out better for the Force India driver. Obviously, getting involved in that lap 2 incident meant that he was no longer with the slipstream train of Jonas, Dan and MB Rubin, and due to that he's lost a lot of time. And so through the final sector, and we're sticking with these two, but Alex does seem to have the ultimate pace against these two. Clarky sets the fastest after the race. I wonder if he actually went onto a set of mediums, because he took his first set about 12 laps, so it should be no problem taking his final set 13, but down the pit straight they go, and it looks like the Force India isn't going to be able to gain enough in towards turn 1, and will have to stay behind the Mercedes driver for now.
I'm still trying to comprehend what happened on the previous lap. That was so close between the 3 drivers, and as we said, stunning driving by all 3, it has to be said, that they didn't swipe each other off the track, otherwise it could have been a very nasty accident. But Alex in 3rd place, I think on a new set of mediums, in 3rd place and 10th place, on a new set of mediums. Yes, he is, because he's got very little tyre wear, so he's going to get to the end on those. He's got Ali K up in front of him, who I think has made a pit stop as well. And so Alex in the previous couple of races has been kind of there or thereabouts. He got 4th last time out in Russia, which was enough to stop Novotank running away. But Novotank is going to run away with the championship at the end of this race, because Novo is currently outscoring Alex by 24 points, which will give him... Oh my goodness me. So that's why you don't go on the curbs on this game, kids. Otherwise you will get propelled into the air, and now, as I was saying, that will give Nervo a 30-odd point lead in the championship. But right now, Alex has got Disimplay to worry about coming down in towards turn 1. He doesn't bother defending, and Disimplay is going to take the inside line and take the position, and gets a braking point nicely spotted, hits the apex, and gets up into 10th place.
Yeah, very good move from the Mercedes driver. and that puts him into a sole point playing position. But yeah, Alex just turned it in too early for that corner in the final sector, launched his car up, and well, that was the end for him down the DRS straight. And Aresi has actually emerged out behind, Dan and NBA Rubin. So does this give an opportunity to Jonas? If these two drivers could hold him up enough, can Jonas get P2 here?
That is a very good point. So who else is in front that needs to make a pit stop
RBOS,
again?
I presume.
Yes, yeah, it is RBOS. Thank you for reminding me on that one. So Aresi is now on a new set of soft tyres, and he's got a lot more grip than these guys at the moment. He's on 2 softer compounds than what these guys are on. Not to mention they are probably half a dozen laps fresher. So now through turn 2, Aresi's not made the move stick into turn 1, but he's got so much more grip through turn 3, and he's just going to drive clean down the inside of him. So that is now Aresi up into 5th place, and now it's Dan who has to deal with the Ferrari driver, and these guys can't surely hang on towards the end of the race against him. So we have to imagine that Aresi's going to get into 4th sooner rather than later. And Dan is, you can see how much more grip Aresi has got than these two. He is straight on the back of the Force India.
Yeah, maybe Jonas's dreams of P2 are over, because the grip difference between the hard and the soft is very evident right here as Aresi goes to the outside of the turn 10 hairpin. Dan defends inside line. He's holding on to that P4 for as long as possible. He's not just going to bend over and give Aresi P4. So through the final sector they go, and Aresi tried to go up the inside. That's not going to work out for him. So this is actually allowing the Sauber of NBA Rubin to get back onto the rear end of these two, because they had actually pulled out a decent gap during that middle sector, but round the final corner they go, and this is just going to be so easy for Aresi. He'll get the DRS. He probably can put it down into lean, because he's just going to fly past the Force India in towards turn 1, and now is Aresi up into P3, and now he can start his charge to get past Jonas, as I believe RBOS has gone onto a set of soft tyres, and he has emerged well behind. He's behind Clarkey by a good 4. No, that's a massive gap. So he's going to have to put in some really good lap times on his soft tyres to catch that gap. I think that's over 5 seconds.
He has lost more than what I expected he was going to lose. Because these 3 guys actually, Jonas and Dan and NBA Rubin, well ahead of him. I thought they would have been closer. So that is definitely looking, these guys are going to get a top 5 finish. But obviously we have to bear in mind Kian as well, who is on the medium tyre with better tyre wear as well. So through turn 10 they go. They all nail the apex beautifully, and you have to say Dan looks like he's struggling the most out of these guys at the moment. Here is Kian, and catching them now, so making amends for the time that he lost under the virtual safety car when those 3 pitted. So Novo Tank is also in the lead on soft tyres, as we've had the chance to see there on the timing screen, and Aresi is pushing very hard to try and get that P2 back. And did someone pit there, or was that, no, that was just the visual glitch on the timing screen. So you can see NBA Rubin is all over Dan at the moment, so Dan's going to have to hold on for dear life in these remaining 7 laps, including this one. And what do we think? Can Dan hold on to this?
Yeah, I think for the time being, I think Dan and NBA Rubin are sort of working together, just pulling each other along. They've done it so far this race. Just work together to get through the traffic, stick with the drivers who run an alternate strategy. And now, if they battle each other too much, they know they're going to lose a position to Kian. So I think for the time being, they're just going to try and work together, because they both know that they're on for a very good haul of points. And, well, this is by far their best finishing position so far in the season. Jonas in P2, an absolutely brilliant drive so far from him. And Aresi is all over the back of him, though, on a fresh set of soft compound tyres.
You can see how much in the mirrors. You can see how much more of a tighter line that Aresi is able to take, because he's got that much more grip. You saw how much Jonas understeered through turn 10 as he clipped the curb in the final chicane, and is really struggling with the rear tyres now. Coming onto the pit straight, you've got to think that this is going to be easy pickings for the Ferrari driver. Jonas goes to the inside or goes to the middle of the track to defend. Aresi has none of it at all, goes up the inside and goes slightly wide through turn 1. It's going to allow Jonas to cut back through turn 2. And now around the outside, will he pull it off? No, he's not got enough grip to hang it around the outside there. And you've got to imagine Aresi will now just take off up the road as he goes defensive into turn 4 to cover off Jonas to make sure he doesn't try a dive bomb. But in doing that, he's run wide, and you can see how much less grip that Jonas has got at the moment on those much harder compounds and much more older tyres as well. And now we're back on board with Kian, who we have to remember came in at the end of lap 16. So these tyres are 12 laps old, and they're going to be pretty dire come the end of the race, because 17 laps on mediums. I know he has got the tyre wear glitch in his favour, but that is still going to be a tremendous start to try and get those to the end.
Yeah, I think he should be alright, because obviously he started on the hard compound tyres. Worth pointing out that that gives him an extra advantage over the guys that started on the middle medium compound tyre. What we believe so far is that there is about, if you start on the hardest compound of tyre, you get about 50% of the wear of the guys that start on the softest compounds. With the medium, it's somewhere in the middle of those two, slightly, probably, it's hard to explain, but there's probably, the medium and hard compound tyres have relatively similar tyre wear, but a slight advantage for the guys that start on hard, whereas starting on the soft compound tyre gives you considerable worse tyre than both of them. So, worth pointing out that Keane will have a slight advantage over the guys that started on medium compound tyres. We've got a random manner going very slowly. It's just disrupting my explanation of the compound system on this game, but gets out of the way of all of them, although, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It was Theo who had retired, and because of the way these last two games have worked, instead of their car disappearing completely off the track, the AI takes over and finds somewhere to pull over off the track.
Ah, good. Brilliant. So now we've got RBOS and Clarky, who are actually catching up to these lots. So could Dan and IMBA Rubin lose a load of positions if their tyres go off at the end of this race? Because Clarky and RBOS will be massively fast at the end point of this race, and they're only probably about 4 seconds behind. So if they, well, stop battling and work together, then they can probably catch this train ahead as they go through the final chicane, now round the final corner. And I'm pretty sure the Haas driver will be able to get them ahead of McLaren up into Rich Mix. He's been able to save a fuel. Is he actually positive by a whole lap? That is ridiculous how much fuel saving he's been able to do during this race. But now up the inside of the McLaren, up into P7, and now he'll be looking to possibly even get P4 in this race, which would be a very good result for him.
It is hard to believe that the two Haas cars were 2nd and 3rd on the grid, and now they're down in 7th and whatever position M-Thorne's in. We've not heard of him since that front wing damage that he collected after hitting the back of the Sauber early on in the race. So now back on board with Kian. He's not made any inroads, you know, into these two guys at the moment. So as Dan was trying to explain just a moment ago, the guys who start on the soft tyre will have around about 40 to 50% worse tyre wear than those who start on the middle compound, and between 50 to 60% worse than those who start on the hardest compound, which is very unfortunate, but it is the situation we have, so it's up to people to make the best of those situations. And at the moment, these guys in 3rd, 4th and 5th are making the best of that situation, currently in those positions. And now we have RBOS right on the back of them. Right, the first target at the moment is Kian. He's not going to have the straight line speed to get close enough down into turn 1, since Kian does have the DRS of the cars in front, but you can see how much more braking grip he's got. So can RBOS make his way past all three of these cars? You see how much more grip he has through turn 3, and then gets a snap after going onto the grass. So if RBOS can keep his back end in check, he's looking good for a possible 4th place here.
Yeah, he's only got 2.5 laps to make these manoeuvres though, so he's got to get on with it. Obviously, most of these guys have got DRS on each other, which obviously gives them a straight line speed advantage, but it appears that Dan and NBA Rubin are able to pull away from Kian at this point in the race, which makes Kian susceptible to the Haas driver. Now through turn 9, he'll get that DRS. It's a great exit for the Haas driver. Goes to the outside towards turn 10. Can he outbrake the Renault driver? And he just about does it. He's going to have to hang it round the outside. It's been really difficult. Kian fairly leaves space, but he'll have the inside line and is able to defend that position really well.
And now RBOS trying to get on the inside through turn 11. That's not an overtaking spot. And turn 12, sorry. And now he's all over the back going into the last chicane. Clumps the inside curb. And that's going to cost him out of this corner. And now he's got Clarkey to worry about on the exit. Gets a poor exit off the last corner. And now this is going to give Clarkey a run down into turn 1 with better straight line speed and traction. And that has allowed Clarkey through, actually. So now Clarkey is looking in position to try and get past Kian. Has made contact. And that's ruined Clarkey's afternoon, as he's now gone back down to 8th place. Here is now M Thorn trying to get past Desimple for 11th place down the inside. Will he make the move? Yes, he does. Desimple leaves room, and now Desimple's got a compromised line in towards turn 3, and M Thorn trying to get the switch back through these complex of corners, and Desimple just about holds on. And yeah, that was a little bit clumsy from Clark, I'm afraid. Too busy watching RBOS in the mirrors, completely forgot there was a corner coming up and just slammed into Kian. Kian, fortunately, was not harmed too much in that, only lost 1 position though to RBOS. And now here is Jonas in 3rd place. It'll be a tremendous result for Sauber as a team for this race, as they've really struggled to get points so far this season. And with a 3rd and with a 5th, what is that? They'll be getting 25 points. So the equivalent of a race win, which will be stunning for them. And Dan in 4th place as well, after getting his first points in Russia with a 9th place, is looking to get 4th here as well. So he'll be catching his teammate in the standings, who's had a very poor afternoon after that spin very early in the race. So these guys are all looking to do a tremendous job here, and you wouldn't have thought it given their pace, but that is the nature of what their strategies has led to. And here is Alex, the championship protagonist before this race, and really struggling at the moment. Is struggled for pace around here this afternoon, and is looking pretty much to pick up only 1 point.
Yeah, it's not been a great afternoon for the Red Bull driver, but back to the battle for 4th, and NBA Rubin doesn't look close enough. Obviously, we still got to factor in penalties, so anything could change at the end of this race. 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, all relatively close, so all could be decided after we go over the start-finish line. Through turn 10, Nova Tank though has taken the win here in Spain. It's a very dominant performance from the Renault driver. It sends out a message for the rest of this championship, and he is the first driver to claim 2 wins this season. But back with M4, who's battling Desimple for pride, goes up the inside towards turn 10, and he is up into P11.
We'll get no points for that, but obviously, as Dan has just said, we need to factor in penalties as well. Jonas comes home in 3rd place, a terrific result for him. Dan collects 4th. And the Sauber of NBA Rubin gets 5th, and followed by RBOS and Kian, after being taken out a lap ago, comes home in 7th place, but a good result nonetheless considering where he started. M Thorn started 2nd, will be disappointed to come home in 11th, followed by the China race winner in Desimple, GR Demon, in 14th, and it's not been a good day for him, and is on the soft tyres, so probably try to get the fastest lap. Will he get it coming around the last corner? Comes home in 14th place, smashes the DRS board to display his anger, and B Colt will come home in a very quiet, very lonely 15th place.
Yeah, and that was the Spanish Grand Prix. Nervo Tank, very, very good performance from him. And Aresi, once again, doing very well in this league, claiming P2. But I think the driver of the day has to be Jonas, coming home in a spectacular P3.
So Nervo Tank becomes the first double winner of the season, as Dan has already said. Aresi comes home in 2nd place. Jonas with a very good result for Sauber in 3rd, followed by Dan and NBA Rubin. RBOS in the end couldn't get past and comes home in 6th place, Kian in 7th. Clarkey comes home in 8th after that contact on the penultimate lap. Ali K comes home in a very quiet 9th place in the end. Didn't hear much of him for the rest of the race, and Alex rounds out the top 10. So now that gives Nurotang a 32-point lead in the Drivers' Championship and pulls out a massive gap over his main rival. Mthorn now only just 13 points behind him, and Disimplay and Kian now tied in points for 4th place. Aresi goes up to 6th after that 2nd place result for him, and Jonas goes up to 10th after that 3rd place. Dan and RBOS now get promoted to 11th and 12th, being tied on 14 points, as well as NBA Rubin coming home in 5th place, being promoted to 15th.
Renault retain their lead in the Constructors' Championship, now having more than double the points of their closest challenger in Red Bull, with only Haas 1 point behind the Red Bull team. Ferrari go up to 4th after Aresi's very good P2 today, and Mercedes drop down to P5. McLaren and Force India stay 6th and 7th, while Sauber are promoted from the bottom of the table to P8 after a great haul of points for Jonas and NBA Rubin today. Manor drop down to 9th, with Williams now at the bottom of the table.
So that's it for the Spanish Grand Prix here this afternoon. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time for the most glamorous race on the calendar. It's Monaco, don't miss it.